My father tried to sell a woman to me like she was another line item on a balance sheet. That was the thought stuck in my head when he slid the thick folder across his mahogany desk. The office smelled like old leather, money, and pressure. It was the kind of room where deals were made, and people forgot they were human. He did not look at me. He looked at her. "Elena Vance," he said, "your company is underwater. Your board is nervous. The banks are ready to move. I am offering a solution." I stood on one side of the desk, arms folded. She sat on the other side, in a camel coat, spine straight, shoulders tight. Elena looked like she was holding herself together with sheer will. Dark hair pulled back, jaw set, eyes sharp but tired. My father, Silas Thorne, wore calm like a tailored suit. "We buy your debt," he went on. "We merge the assets." Vance Heritage folds into Thorne Holdings. He tapped the folder. The market sees stability. The press sees a story. The board sees a future. His finger shifted to a tab with neat letters on it. "Public trust." "And," he added, like he was ordering dessert, "we arrange a marriage. My son Elias. You. Joint statement. United front. Personal and professional." I felt my jaw clench. It was the first time he said it out loud. Marriage. Elena did not flinch, but I saw the small pulse jump in her throat. Her eyes stayed on him, not on me. "You are proposing I trade my company for your son's ring," she said. Her voice was low and steady, like a beam under load. "That is not stability. That is a hostage deal." "You are free to decline," my father replied. "You can walk away right now. The bank will move next week. Your projects will freeze. Your people will scatter. You will watch years of work die. That is also a choice." The air felt like metal, charged and cold. He had her trapped, and we all knew it. Her hand hovered over the pen near the folder, not because she wanted me, because she wanted to keep her company alive and her crew paid. I moved before I had time to plan it. One step forward, just enough to pull the room toward me. "Stop," I said. My father's eyes cut to me, sharp as a blade. "Elias, this is not your concern." I ignored that. My gaze stayed on Elena. "I am not signing a marriage contract," I said. "Not for the board, not for the press, not for you." Her eyes flicked to me for the first time, dark, wary, careful, measuring. My father smiled without warmth. "Then you are refusing the solution." "No," I said. "I am refusing your version of it." I opened the folder and turned it so Elena could see the pages he hoped she would skim. Control blocks, covenants, traps. "This is not a rescue," I said quietly. "This is a capture. The marriage is camouflage. The voting rights in here put your company in his pocket the second you sign." Elena did not look surprised. She looked tired of being right about men like him. I slid the pen away from her fingers. "Here is what I will do," I said. "No marriage, no ring, no intimacy clause. You and I sign a public partnership agreement and a standstill. 6 weeks. We act united for the press and your lenders. I help stabilize your project pipeline. You keep control. You keep your name. You keep agency." Quote. "And why," she asked, "would I trust you?" I did not sweeten my answer. "Because I am the keystone in his succession plan," I said. "If I move, his tower shifts. If you take his deal, you become a possession. If you take mine, you stay yourself." My father's voice sharpened. "This is not your negotiation." "I am not talking to you," I said without looking away from Elena. "I am talking to her." Her hand curled on the edge of the desk. Somewhere behind her calm she was shaking. "Elena," I said softly, "I do not take orders, not from him, not from the board. But if you choose to stand with me, I will put myself between you and every hit he sends. Not as your owner, as your partner." Her breath caught. The silence stretched long enough for me to hear my own heartbeat in my ears. Then she gave one small, precise nod. "Fine," she said. 6 weeks. Partnership. Nothing more." "For now," I answered before I could stop myself. My father's jaw locked. I did not look at him. The papers were redrafted. Lawyers shuffled in and out. The original marriage language was cut, replaced with clean partnership terms and a standstill. His signature, my signature, her signature. He thought he could fix it later. He thought he had time. He moved faster than I expected. The first proof came to me in the shape of a manila envelope, warm from her hand. Golden light washed over the Vance estate when I stepped out of the guest house that evening. I wore a plain gray t-shirt, jeans, and the kind of expression I used in crisis. Calm. Focused. Ready to move. Elena walked out onto the wide front porch from the main house. No coat now. Just a mauve tank top, high-waisted black skirt. Bare arms that looked too thin under the weight she was carrying. Her hair was loose over one shoulder, a little messy, like she had been pulling her fingers through it. She stopped at the top of the steps and held the envelope out to me. "This was hand-delivered," she said. "I took it. Bank seal. Same-day courier." I opened it against the porch rail. The paper snapped in the warm air. It was a default notice. Not next week. Not later. Effective at 5 pages M today. "They moved the deadline," she said. Her voice was flat. "They tied it to a governance clause, not money, reputation." "This is not underwriting," I said. "This is a tripwire." She gave a bitter, tired half-smile. "He told me I could walk away," she said. "He just forgot to mention he would pull the floor out while I was standing on it." "You can still walk," I said. "Let the projects die. Let the boards scramble. Start over somewhere else." Her eyes met mine and held. "And my people?" she asked. "The crews on that warehouse site? The office staff? The foremen with kids in college? They do not land on their feet if I walk." I looked down at the notice again. Numbers, clauses, traps. "I can keep the job site from shutting down," I said. "I can keep your board from panicking. But I need something first." "Access," she said. The word scraped her throat. "Full access." "Full," I confirmed. "Real books, loan covenants, vendor contracts, inspection schedules. If he is using paper to hurt you, we beat him with paper and math." She hesitated. Pride fought survival right there on her face. Then she nodded. "Fine," she said quietly. "You get everything." Movement at the edge of the driveway pulled my attention. 2 men in dark suits stood near her vintage Jaguar, heads close, voices low. They were not admiring the car. The wind carried a few words. Inspection. Safety. Brake feel. Photo. I stepped down off the porch and shifted just enough to put my body between Elena and the car. "Do not drive that," I said. She frowned. "What?" "They want you on the road," I said. "One blurry photo, one memo about a safety concern. That becomes a reason for the bank to tighten the leash. It becomes proof you are unstable." Her face went pale. "If they are doing this here," she whispered, "they are doing it everywhere." "Exactly," I said. I walked to my truck and opened the passenger door. "Keys stay here," I told her. "You ride with me. We go to your flagship site now, before an inspector shows up with a clipboard and a script." She watched me for a beat, like she was trying to decide if I was another trap. Then she climbed into my truck. "Drive," she said. So I did. And as the city blurred past and storm clouds gathered over the old warehouse district, one thought settled in my chest. I had just chosen a side. And it was not my father's. By the time we reached the warehouse district, the sky had opened up. Rain hammered the windshield in thick sheets, the kind that turned streetlights into blurred halos. The old brick factory rose out of the gray like a ship stuck on land. Temporary lights glowed around it, turning the rain into white noise. As soon as I killed the engine, Elena was out of the truck. No umbrella, no pause. Her heels sank into the mud, but she did not slow down. "Stop!" she shouted, voice cutting through the rain. A delivery truck was backed in at a bad angle near the scaffolding. The east wall had temporary shoring, and I could see it bowing just enough to make people nervous. Men were yelling, some already pulling tools off the site like the job was over. A man with a clipboard and a city badge stood near the trailer, awning, dry under the cover while everyone else got soaked. The inspector, a foreman with a beard and a soaked flannel jacket, rushed toward Elena. "Inspector showed up early," he said, shouting over the storm. Says load capacity is compromised. He is shutting us down, indefinite hold. We cannot survive that, Elena. Marcus, she said, grabbing his arm. Breathe. What exactly did he say? Shoring is unsafe. Wall is stressed. Wants a full stop, Marcus answered, anger and fear mixed in his voice. I walked past them, toward the inspector and the drawings pinned to a nearby board. The rain soaked my gray t-shirt in seconds, but I barely felt it. Sir, you cannot be here, the inspector said when he saw me flipping pages. I am lead structural engineer, I said. I can be wherever the math is. The drawings were wet at the edges, ink blurring a little, but the details were still clear. I traced the load path with my finger, the temporary shoring, the old brick, the new grade beams. The problem was not the wall, it was the mud. The truck's weight was pressing into the soaked ground near the footing, changing how the load moved. It was a drainage issue, not a shoring collapse. He is citing the wrong section. I said loud enough for Elena and Marcus to hear. The inspector frowned. Excuse me? I tapped the page. Temporary shoring here is governed by the retrofit exemption. Historic Preservation Section 12B, I said. The load transfers to the grade beams, not the old pilings. The truck is compromising drainage, not the wall. Move it 10 feet west and you clear the load path. The driver looked at the inspector. The inspector looked at the page. His pen, already hovering over the stop work order, stalled. That is not how I understood it, he said. Understand it better, I replied, calm. Or put your name on a false report and explain it in court. He stared at me. I stared back, rain dripping from my hair into my eyes. I did not raise my voice. I did not threaten him with lawyers or contacts. I just let the math sit between us. The driver swallowed. I can move it, he said quietly. 10 feet west, I told him. Now. The truck backed up, mud splashing under the tires. The pressure near the footing eased. The shoring straightened. You could almost feel the building sigh. The inspector watched it all, jaw tight. Finally, he stepped forward, took the clipboard back from Marcus, and signed the daily log with a sharp, annoyed stroke. Fine, he said. Site stays open. For now. He walked away into the rain, shoulders stiff. The crew started moving again, like someone hit play on a paused scene. Marcus blew out a breath and pushed wet hair off his forehead. You just saved us weeks, he said. I bought you a day, I corrected. He will be back, or someone like him will. We have to fix the route, not just today's storm. When I turned, Elena was watching me. At first her eyes were guarded, the way they had been in my father's office. Then something shifted. Her shoulders loosened a little. Her gaze stopped scanning for the next hit and settled on me. You quoted 12B without checking your phone, she said. I read fast, I answered, and I do not let people bully a structure with bad math. You saved the timeline, she said softly. I bought us time, I said. My father will try something else. This was just one move. She stepped closer, rainwater running down her neck, hair curling at the ends. When you stepped in front of him earlier, she said, and when you moved in front of that car, and now here, it felt like someone finally stepped between me and the punch. I did not give her a speech. I just nodded once. Come on, I said. We need a dry table and coffee. This is bigger than one inspector. The site trailer smelled like wet paper, coffee, and stress. We left our wet shoes by the door and stood in our socks on scuffed vinyl. She hung her coat on a hook. My shirt clung to my back. I spread the bank notice and the partnership agreement out on the table. The clauses I had only skimmed before now glared up at me like red flags. Your lawyers drafted surrender, I said. My father's lawyers turned it into a knife. Elena wrapped her hands around a coffee cup like she needed the heat. Her eyes were on the paper, but I could feel her watching me too. They told me the clauses were standard, she said. Protection language. I pointed at a section buried in the middle. This ties your voting rights to a public stability score. One bad headline, and his trust can seize control. He does not have to fix your company. He just has to make you look weak. Her face went pale, then hard. I signed that, she said. You signed under pressure and on bad faith, I replied. We fix it. I grabbed a pen and started redlining. Thick lines through every clause that tied her power to rumors. Circles around measurable triggers instead. Covenants based on actual numbers, not gossip. No governance triggers from press hits, I said as I wrote. No forced performance. No personal leverage. Voting rights remain with you unless you choose otherwise. No automatic transfer to any trust. We put that in bold. Each stroke of the pen felt like cutting ropes. Elena watched in silence for a long time. Then she asked, voice low, "Why are you doing this for me?" Quote, "I did not pretend it was altruistic. Because I am done being used as a tool," I said. "Because my father built his kingdom on pressure and traps. Because you should not have to trade your spine for payroll. And because if I am going to stand in front of you and tell you I will take the hits, I mean it." Her throat worked like she was swallowing something sharp. "You are torching your own inheritance," she said. "I am not interested in his money," I said. "I am interested in controlling my own life. And in making sure he does not own yours." We worked like that for hours. Contracts, covenants, risk maps. Her CFO, Naomi, joined us later, eyes ringed with dark circles, shoulders carrying 10 different crises. "They are spooked," Naomi said. "Two directors want to temporarily remove Elena as CEO until the clause threat passes. They say it is about optics." Elena went still. It was not fear that crossed her face. It was something heavier. The look of someone who is tired of being the target and the shield at the same time. "Who is leading it?" I asked. "Director Haynes," Naomi said. "He has been taking your father's calls." "Get me the board agenda and the performance bond for this site," I said. Minutes later we were on a video call, glass conference room on their end, cheap fluorescent light on ours. Haynes talked about fiduciary duty and shareholder trust. All the safe words people used when they were about to cut someone open. When he finished, I spoke. "Director Haynes," I said, "if you vote to sideline Elena, you breach the performance bond on the warehouse project. The insurer can pull coverage. That triggers a real default. Not reputational. Financial." "That is an exaggeration," he said. "It is not," I replied. Page 9, Section 4. I am looking at it right now. Naomi let out a quiet breath beside me. I could tell she saw it too. "You pull her," I went on. "The steel supplier releases the hold on inventory because you will freeze approvals. The schedule slips. Lenders get measurable cause to step in. You want stability, you keep the person actually holding the work together." Silence, then slow nods. The motion died. After the call, Elena leaned against the trailer wall, eyes closed for a second. "You did not even raise your voice," she said. "I did not need to," I answered. "Math is loud enough." We stayed at the estate late that night. The mansion was mostly dark, only the kitchen lights on. The marble island was covered in binders and printouts. Elena opened the fridge, stared at rows of expensive ingredients, then shut it with a tired sigh. "I have a chef," she said. "He has been on leave while my life is burning down. I do not even know what half of this is." I found a cabinet with instant ramen tucked behind cans. I held up the packet. "Dinner," I said. Her mouth lifted in a real small smile. "In this house?" she asked. "That feels illegal." We ate leaning on the counter, steam fogging the edges of the laptop screens. I cracked an egg into the pot, stirred in a way I did on autopilot. "You cook like you engineer," she said. "Precise, steps, timing." "Everything has a sequence," I said. "You follow it. The structure holds." Quote. She nudged my elbow with hers, a quiet, natural touch. "Do you ever do anything without a plan?" she asked. "I walked into my father's office this morning," I said. "That counted." Her laugh was soft and surprised. It hit me in the chest. The warmth of the moment did not erase the war, but it wrapped around the edges of it, like insulation. Sometime after midnight, she fell asleep at the island, cheek on her arm, hair spilling across invoices. I watched her for a second. The lines of strain on her face were clearer in rest. I did not touch her like a claim. I only moved the sharp-edged folders away from her elbow and found a throw blanket. I draped it over her shoulders, tucking it at her back so the cold marble would not steal her heat. Then I sat back down and went to work. I called an old classmate from school, Rena, now in compliance analytics. Her voice came through thick with sleep. If I send you a pattern of short trades lined up with every hit on Vance Heritage, I said, can you confirm a match? If you are right, it is reportable, she said. I can prove the pattern, not the name. That is enough, I answered. At dawn, I left Elena 2 things beside her coffee mug. Revised structural plans that cut costs by 15% without risk, and a 1-page risk memo tying the short trades to the dirty clauses. At the bottom, in my handwriting, I wrote 1 line. Follow the sequence. I will hold the line. When she found it, she looked at the papers first, then at me. Her eyes were softer, less guarded. You did this overnight, she said. I do not sleep when someone is trying to knock out your foundation, I said. She swallowed, the emotion tight in her voice. I did not think anyone would show up like this, she said. I did, I replied. I chose to. The first real test came with a string of camera flashes. 3 days later, we had to go to a charity gala downtown. On paper, it was about funding community housing. In reality, it was about power, image, and who looked like they were winning. My father would be there, lenders would be there, board members would be there. Every person who could help or destroy Elena's company would be in one glittering ballroom. I wore a black tux that felt more like armor than clothing. When I walked into the foyer of the Vance estate, she was on the stairs. For a second, I forgot how to think. Elena wore a silver dress that moved like liquid when she walked. It hugged her frame and caught the light with every step. Her hair was up, a few soft pieces loose at her neck. She looked strong and fragile at the same time, like a steel beam covered in glass. She stopped on the last step and watched my face. Is it too much? She asked. It is exactly enough, I said. They will see you before they see any number on a page. Her mouth curved, not a full smile, something small and real. In the car, she sat close but not touching. Her hands were tight in her lap. When we pulled up to the hotel, I could feel her breath catch as the flashbulb started. Stay on my left, I said. Hand on my arm. If you want out, squeeze twice. We leave without talking to anyone. Quote, You will walk away from all of them, she asked, just like that? I did not come for them, I said. I came for you. Inside, the ballroom glowed gold. Crystal, white tablecloths, quiet music. My father stood near the center of the room in a perfect dark suit. A glass in his hand, people circling him like he was the sun. I put my hand at the small of Elena's back. Not possessive, just steady pressure. A promise she could feel. They believe it, she murmured after the first round of hellos. They believe we are stable, you and me. The partnership. They only need to believe that, I said. They do not get more. She glanced up at me. The lumber bill on the warehouse, she said. Naomi told me an anonymous donor paid it. It kept the site moving. It needed to move, I said. Her eyes searched mine. Was it you? She asked. Yes, I answered. You did not have to, she said. I know, I replied. I chose to. We stepped onto the dance floor because the cameras needed a shot and my father wanted to see if we would stumble. My hand stayed at her waist, her palm in mine. At first she held herself tight, the way she held everything. Halfway through the song, she moved a little closer on her own. Her body relaxed against mine just enough to feel like trust. If you want space, tell me, I said near her ear. Her breath warmed my collar. I am fine, she said. I like this. For 1 second, all the noise in the room faded. It was just her and me and the steady beat under my hand. Then the attack hit. Miss Vance, a voice called over the music. Is it true about the default notice? Cameras surged toward us like a wave. Phones lifted. Someone shoved a printed sheet in her face. I saw the heading and my stomach turned. It was a leaked copy of the technical default notice with the 5 pages M trigger. The governance clause. A red circle around the part that said control could move if a joint trust filing was not signed. Is it true your company will lose control within 24 hours? Unless you give voting power to the Thorn Trust? A reporter shouted. Elena went pale. Her hand pressed to her ribs like she had been hit. Ori takes voting control, she whispered. They will think I am already done. Across the room, my father raised his glass. His eyes were on us. There was pride there, but not the good kind. It was the look of a man watching a plan land. I stepped in front of Elena, blocking the cameras with my body. Flashes hit my back instead of her face. Look at me, I said quietly. Right here. Breathe in. Her eyes locked on mine. We stayed like that, a small pocket of stillness while the room spun. We are done here, I said. We leave. Now. Her fingers curled into my sleeve. Not for show. For balance. We walked out through the side hallway, away from the main doors, away from the noise. Outside, the air was cooler, the sky heavy with new rain. The drive back to the estate was quiet. Her phone buzzed non-stop in her hand. Board members. Bank. Naomi. Gossip. He moved the date on purpose, she said in a low voice. He timed the leak with the gala. He wants everyone to see me fall. He wants to scare you into signing whatever he brings next, I said. How do we fight this in one day? She asked. I cannot prove he is behind the trades or the leak, not in 24 hours. We do not have to prove it in one day, I said. We just have to survive the day without giving him your throat. When we turned into the long driveway, the hairs on my neck lifted. 2 black SUVs were parked near the front steps, engines still running. Headlights cut through the rain, bright and cold. He is here, Elena said. Her voice shook once, then leveled out. Or he sent someone. Back office, I said as we rolled to a stop. Lock the door. If you hear shouting, stay put. What are you going to do? She asked. End the visit, I said. She hesitated, then nodded and went inside. I could feel her eyes on my back through the glass. I stepped out into the rain in my tuck shirt. No jacket. The lead man from the SUV was already walking toward the porch, a folder in his hand. Ms. Vance needs to sign these tonight, he said. Mr. Thorne insists. She is not signing anything tonight, I said, standing at the base of the steps. This is urgent, he pushed. We have orders. Quote. I do not take his orders, I said, and neither does she. Rain ran down the back of my neck. My shoes were filling with water. I did not move. You can tell Mr. Thorne this, I said, voice flat. Any further contact goes through counsel. If you trespass again, my next calls go to the police and the press at the same time. I am sure they would love footage of his men harassing a debtor at her house at night. The man's jaw flexed. He held my stare for a long beat. Then he turned, went back to the SUV, and the cars pulled out and disappeared through the gate. When I stepped back inside, my phone started vibrating in my pocket. Work, I answered in the hallway. Elias, my managing partner said, voice tight. We just received an anonymous tip that you leaked proprietary designs to a competitor. There is a screenshot with your name on it. If this goes public, our whole firm is in trouble. Silas was not only hitting her, he was cutting my legs out too. He'd climbed my neck, but I forced my voice to stay even. Lock the document access logs, I said. Now. No one edits anything. Pull every IP address, every timestamp, every device that touched those files in the last month. That screenshot was either stolen or forged. Either way, the trail will show it. Are you sure you want to stir this? He asked. If we dig and it is you. It is not me, I said. Trust me on that. Get the logs. When I hung up, I turned and found Elena standing near the archway, bare feet on the hardwood, silver dress still on, earrings gone. She had heard enough to know it was bad. He is hitting you too, she said. Yes, I replied. She stepped closer, hands unclenching slowly. Tell me what to do, she said. It was not a surrender, it was trust. It hit deeper than any compliment. We go on offense, I said. You do one thing, I do the rest. What one thing? She asked. Give me permission to speak for us, I said. Not as your owner. As your partner. When the press asks you next time, you do not explain. You point to me. When the board pushes you into a corner, you let me stand there with you. Full access, full voice. She studied my face like she was checking for cracks. "You want me to let you stand in front of me," she said. "No," I said. "I want to stand beside you, but when the hit comes, I want it to hit me first." Her throat moved. She took one slow breath. "Okay," she said. "I am with you." The next morning, the emergency board meeting felt like walking into a storm built from glass and suits. The conference room sat high in a tower downtown. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed gray sky and a city that did not care who lost in the room. My father sat at the head of the table, hands folded, a calm mask on his face. Lawyers lined the walls. On a screen, remote directors filled little squares. Elena sat at the far end in a black suit and low heels. No jewelry, no silver dress, just sharp lines and steady eyes. I stood behind her chair, one hand on the backrest, a quiet anchor. "The deadline for the clause approaches," my father said. "Without a joint governance trust filing signed by Ms. Vance and an independent managing partner, the Thorn Trust will assume voting control." First motion on the table: liquidate the warehouse asset. Quote, "Objection," Elena said, standing. "You do not have control." "You have no vote," my father replied. "She does not," I said, stepping forward. "But I do." My father's eyes narrowed. "You do not own shares here," he said. "No," I said, "but I own something else you care about." I set a flash drive on the table and a sealed envelope beside it. "I am lead engineer on the Thorn Tower expansion," I said. "Every structural design runs through me, every permit, every inspection sign-off, every dependency." I slid the envelope toward him. "This is my resignation," I said. The room went silent. "You cannot resign," my father said. His voice had lost its easy calm. "Your contract bars me from competing," I cut in, "not from quitting. If I walk, your tower stalls, you miss deadlines, you pay delay penalties, you lose trust with your own board. 50 million, at least, plus reputational damage." Two directors on his side shifted in their chairs. One started flipping through papers, doing math. My father glared at me. "You are bluffing," he said. I took out my phone and brought up the permit schedule. My name sat beside every critical step. "I am not bluffing," I said. "I am engineering." Then I tapped the second file, the one from my firm. "These are the document access logs from our system," I said. The forged screenshot that claims I leaked designs was accessed from an external IP at 2:13 a.m. That same shell provider placed short positions against Vance Heritage right before every reputational hit. Eyes around the table sharpened. "You think I will let you use my son to destroy a target and your own engineer at the same time without pushback?" I asked my father. "That was your mistake." I turned to the board. "Here's the trade," I said. "Today, the Thorn Trust divests completely from Vance Heritage at the original valuation. No clawbacks, no governance traps, no hidden triggers. In return, I remain lead engineer on the tower for 12 months under a new contract, signed with this board, not with Silas Thorn alone." My father stood slowly, fury simmering under his skin. "You ungrateful," he started. "I choose," I said, cutting him off. My voice stayed calm, but it carried. "I choose her autonomy. I choose a company that builds instead of strips. And if I have to burn my inheritance to keep your hands off her, I will." The room held its breath. The decision, when it came, did not happen in shouts. It happened in a series of quiet nods, whispered side comments, quick calculations. In that moment, I knew something had shifted. Not just in the deal. In us. The vote did not sound like thunder. It sounded like pens on paper. One director cleared his throat and spoke first. "I support divestment," he said. "Full exit from Vance Heritage, original valuation." Another director followed, then another. Lawyers leaned in, numbers moved across the table. My father watched it like a man watching water slip through his fingers. "You cannot be serious," he said. "We hold the leverage. We can own this." "You can own a lawsuit and a stalled tower," I said quietly. "Or you can walk away with your money and let her build without your shadow." The last director nodded. "I vote to divest," she said. "No governance clause. Clean exit." It was done. The lawyers started marking up the terms. I stood back, feeling the adrenaline drain out of me in waves. My hand stayed on the back of Elena's chair. I could see the tremor in her fingers where they rested on the table, but her voice stayed steady as she signed. One set of papers to cut his hold. One set to give us room. My father did not look at her when he signed his part. He looked at me. "You are out of the family trust," he said. "You get nothing." I held his eyes. "Keep it," I said. "I am done taking what you give with one hand and pull back with the other." He stepped closer, voice low so only I could hear. "She is not worth this," he said. I did not look away. "She is worth more than that," I said, "and so am I." For once he had no quick answer. When we left the room, Elena walked on her own. Head up, back straight. No one opened the door for her. She pushed it herself. In the elevator, it was just the two of us. The doors slid shut and the noise from the floor cut off like someone turned down the world. For the first time in weeks, there was no rush, no call, no new fire, just quiet. I leaned back against the elevator wall and let out a breath I had been holding since the gala. "We are about to be unemployed," I said. Elena let out a sound that was half laugh, half shaky breath. "Technically," she said, "yes." She rubbed her hands over her face, then dropped them. The lines of stress were still there, but something else was under them now. Space. "We have your truck," I said, "and your brain. That is more than some people start with." "You gave up everything," she said. Her eyes searched my face like she was trying to understand the shape of what I had done. "It was not a hard choice," I answered. "Not for me." She stepped closer, not fast, not like she was rushing into something, just steady. Her perfume was light, clean. I could smell rain, still clinging to her suit. I could feel the heat of her even before she touched me. Her fingers lifted to my jaw. She traced the line once, slow, like she was making sure I was real. "Kiss me," she said. I did. One hand at her waist, pulling her closer. One hand at the back of her shoulder, careful, giving her balance instead of taking it. She rose into it like she had been leaning forward for weeks, and finally let herself land. There was no press, no board, no contracts, just the simple fact that we both knew what we were choosing. When the elevator chimed for the lobby, I did not trap her. I rested my forehead against hers and let us breathe. "We go when you are ready," I said. She closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, there was no flinch. "I am ready," she said. 3 months later, the city felt like a different place. We were standing in a gutted warehouse in Georgetown, concrete floor under our boots, sunlight coming in through broken panes and dusty skylights. The walls were old brick, rough and honest. The air smelled like dust and new plans. A cheap vinyl sign hung by the door. Thorne and Vance Design Build. The paint was still fresh. The edges were not perfect. I liked it that way. Elena wore jeans, work boots, and a hard hat. She walked a potential client through the space, hands moving as she spoke. "We keep the original trusses," she said, touching one of the beams with fondness. "Reinforce with exposed steel. Add skylights here and here. The brick stays honest. No fake distress, real history, new life." She glanced at me and I knew she wanted me to back her numbers. "The load calculations hold," I said to the client. "We can start framing next week if you sign today." The client smiled. "You two work well together," he said. "We do," Elena said. There was no armor in her voice this time. Just truth. After he left, Elena locked the door behind him and turned back to me. The warehouse fell quiet. Distant traffic hummed outside, soft and low. She walked over to my makeshift desk, a plywood board on 2 sawhorses. Blueprints were spread out in layers, pens everywhere. She picked up a marker, reached into my pocket like it was hers, and pulled out another one. "You stole my pen," I said. "I borrowed our pen," she answered. On the top page she wrote in bold black strokes, "Project Lead, Elena Thorne." I stared at the name. "We have not filed anything legal," I said. "No license, no change forms, no." "I know," she said. She stepped closer, the marker cap between her fingers. "This is not paperwork. It is intention." Her eyes held mine, steady and warm. "Is it a problem?" she asked. My chest felt tight in a good way. I reached into my jacket and pulled out a folded set of drawings. "It depends," I said, "on your answer to this." I laid the pages out on the board. Most of it was a normal plan, but at the back I had slipped in a small diagram. Clean lines. Simple shape. Not a diamond ring. A steel band reinforcement detail. The kind of ring an engineer trusts. Strong under pressure. Built to last. Below it, in my own handwriting, was one sentence. "When you say yes, we build forever." Elena went quiet. Her eyes moved from the drawing to my face and back again. For a second, I thought I had broken her. Then she laughed, soft and bright, the sound bouncing off the old brick. "Engineers propose with schematics now," she said. "Only when the woman they love respects proof." I said. The word was out before I could pull it back. "Love." She heard it. Her whole expression softened, like a load finally shifting onto a beam that could carry it. "Say it again," she said. "I love you," I said. "No board, no father, no contract. Just plain truth. I chose you the day I pushed that pen away from your hand. I chose you when I stood between you and his men. I chose you when I burned my place in his trust. I will keep choosing you every day, even when it is hard." Her eyes shone. "Good," she whispered. Then, clear as the first time she pushed back in my father's office, she gave her answer. "Yes," she said. "On our terms." I stepped closer, took her hand, and slid an invisible ring over her finger with my thumb, tracing the circle on her skin. "No contract signed by someone else," I said. "No father's demand, no trap, just you and me." She smiled, slow and sure. "My dad once demanded we marry," she said, eyes bright. "His way, his plan, his control." Quote. "And I told you," I said, voice low, "I do not take orders. I choose you." She reached up, curled her fingers into my shirt, and pulled me down into a kiss that tasted like dust and sunlight and new beginnings. Brick by brick, we would build this life. On paper, we were just a small firm in a city full of big names. No trust fund, no safety net, no man in a glass tower pulling our strings. In every way that mattered, we were rich. We had a warehouse with old bones and new light. We had projects on the line and people who believed in us. We had each other. And we had the one thing my father never understood. You can stack money and control and contracts as high as you want. If there is no choice in it, it is just another cage. I did not take orders. I chose her. And every time Elena looked at me across a job site or over a cup of bad coffee at midnight, every time she signed a contract with her own name first, every time she reached for my hand without checking who was watching, I knew she was choosing me too.